Do you know anything about the Karate Kid franchise, Lucas?
I've seen the first movie, but that's become a lot less part of this massive franchise nowadays.
Yeah, it's weird to think that the Karate Kid is like a franchise now with lore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's actual lore that you need to understand about the Karate Kid universe. Like, Mr. Miyagi is basically just the Akuma of that franchise now. Where it's like, there's an episode where they discover like secret Miyagi-Do scrolls in his old dojo that teach you forbidden techniques. Like, he was developing like the raging demon. Anyway, but yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Today we're talking about Cobra Kai on this episode of Wiki Weekends.
Mm-hmm. Well, Karl, I don't want to be the back in my day guy, but back in my day, it was just wax on and wax off.
Well, you might think that wax on, wax off was just a stupid thing they came up with in the 80s to make kids think they could learn martial arts in a summer by like waving their hands around like that. But what you didn't realise, Lucas, is that Mr. Miyagi invented the raging demon. Like, I unironically love the Cobra Kai show because it is the closest we're ever going to get to live action anime. And I remember I told you, like, Lucas, you need to watch it because it's gone so off the rails, I would not be surprised if in the next season a character just threw a Hadouken.
Come on, Robbie! Kenny, stop! I'm not your enemy!
Like, if a character just randomly threw a Hadouken, or just did, like, the Shin Goku Satsu, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. And keep in mind, it's a series that starts like it's a kid who's getting bullied and learns martial arts and to stand up for himself. It's basically, the martial arts are the least interesting part of that original movie. It's like, it's a story about a kid who moves to a new town and just can't make any friends because he's an arsehole.
Yeah, and like, when, Cobra Kai Season 1 came out, I heard people talking about it and go like, oh yeah, it's really good. Lots of like cool martial arts and whatever, and then I heard about like Season 5 and you're like, oh no, it's an anime now.
It becomes an anime. But for anyone out there who's like Lucas, whose familiarity with the Karate Kid franchise is just a passing familiarity with the idea of the Karate Kid, and maybe they know who Mr. Miyagi is, let's go through the wiki, because that's the beauty of Wiki Weekends, because we grab a wiki and we go through it to see what kind of discussion arises as a result. So Cobra Kai is an American martial arts comedy drama series, which is wrong. It's an anime. It is a live-action anime. They will be throwing Hadoukens in the next season. I will bet at some point, Lucas, they have special moves.
What did he teach them?
Kim Sung-young was master of Tang Sudo, but that is not what he taught. His style was controversial.
Do you know when I said like the secret Miyagi-Do scrolls that teach you forbidden secret techniques? Like, do you know that bullshit thing in anime of like, oh, you punch the person in this location and then they're paralyzed? The Miyagi-Do scrolls teach you how to do that. It's this forbidden technique.
Time for you and Miyagi to reunite.
If an enemy insists on war, then you take away their ability to wage it.
I swear down, like, he's going to open up like there's a new forbidden Miyagi-Do scroll, and on it just the input for a raging demon.
I'm just gonna see like the like diagram of the body and how to open all 8 gates.
Now go! Yes, sir!
So fast.
And Lucas, I can tell from your face, you're taking the piss. You're smiling as you say that. But never forget, in the first Karate Kid movie, Mr. Miyagi has healing magic. Magic has been in the Karate Kid franchise since you forget, right? You forget that when Daniel-san gets his leg swept, when the leg is swept, like, he's like, oh no, I can't stand up, my leg hurts. Mr. Miyagi walks up, and he doesn't do anything. He just like rubs his hands over the wound, and it heals. He can heal. So the idea of opening all 8 gates is not that far out of the realm of possibility for one of these like shows.
I guess you're not wrong, because like it's not even as if he, gets adrenaline in him, does the crane kick, and then like, oh, my leg still really hurts. He's fine.
He's fine, yeah. Because in the 80s, martial arts was basically magic, because it was a thing that Hollywood didn't understand. That's like a classic trope, right? In movies of, here's a thing writers don't understand. And because writers are the smartest people in Hollywood, if they don't understand it, it must be magic. Like, think about all the movies with, like, computers and the internet in, before the internet was ubiquitous, and it was basically magic. Like that, like, Hackers film, where they're like, you know, hack the planet, and they're just like, oh yeah, people with you give a kid a laptop and an internet connection, and you can just steal money from a bank. Because writers don't know what the internet is, and they just assume it's magic.
Come on, yes!
Hey, it worked.
Alright. Easy money.
I mean, even nowadays, like, more modern movies, I remember, like, the movie Lucy, was it? Where it was, like, the AI that became Scarlett Johansson, and just... It was like, oh yeah, she can control the universe, basically.
Because it's based on that, like, old bullshit thing of, like, you only use 10% of your brain. It's like, that's not true.
If 90% of our brain is free, well, we could do so much more with it. Like solve complex problems, multitask on an epic scale, or just levitate cats.
Yeah, exactly. We've got different areas of the brain that are doing different things.
No, but Lucas, that's hard to explain, and because writers are stupid, they assume everyone is as stupid as that. It's one of those things where once it's pointed out to you, you'll notice it and go, yeah, they do think these things are magic, and martial arts was a real bad one in the 80s, because people didn't really know what they were.
Mm.
And, like, they had these films coming from, like, Hong Kong, of, like, these phenomenal martial artists doing these things that looked superhuman. And there's a story Bruce Lee told when he first, like, came over to Hollywood and was doing, like, Hollywood productions, where people thought he had magic powers. Because, like, you know, he could do things that an ordinary person would deem to be superhuman. Like, he could throw a punch faster than the eye could see. He could, like, you know, kick someone who's, like, 4 foot taller than he was. Like, you have that famous shot of him, like, fighting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, where he can, like, lift his foot all the way in the air. And there's a story he told where there was a scene in one of the movies he was going to be in that called for him to jump onto the top of a roof. And he turned up for filming that day. He's like, so, how are we going to realise this? And the person's like, well, can't you just do that? So what? It's like, can't you just jump onto the roof? He's like, no. No? How? It's like, no, but I've seen in, like, you know, Hong Kong movies that people can jump that high. It's like, that's special effects. Like, they just legit thought Bruce Lee could jump that high. And he's like, I can jump pretty high, but I'm not, no one's that good.
The thing is, though, if you'd seen what Bruce Lee can do and he told you, yeah, I'm magic, would you question it?
Well, that's what makes it so funny, though, because that's where you've got, like, the career of Steven Seagal. Have you ever seen that, like, really embarrassing, because I'm putting a clip into this, that really embarrassing interview with Steven Seagal, because it was, like, the 80s and people didn't know, like, stuff like pressure points, and that was complete bullshit. He's talking about how he's mastered a martial art. It's all about the movement of energy. And it's just him stood, gently pushing people who tackle him over. And they frame it as if, like, well, he's so in control of his energy and the control and flow of chi. And it's like, no, they're just people who are running at him head first and he's pushing them over. But because he, like, just frames it as, oh, it's this ancient technique that no one understands, people believed it for a really long time.
I mean, Steven Seagal is one of the most successful con men out there.
He is, yeah. Cobra Kai, as we mentioned, it is a live-action anime series and a sequel to The Karate Kid, created by Robert Mark Kamen. The series was created by Josh Heald, John Hurwitz, and Hayden Schlossberg, and is distributed by Sony Pictures Television. It was initially released on YouTube Red/YouTube Premium. Remember when YouTube tried to make TV and they thought, okay, loads of people are watching these, like, YouTubers. Do you know what's a good idea? Let's make television shows that revolve around YouTubers. Because, yeah, do you know, Lucas, do you know who's charismatic enough to carry a half-an-hour-long episode? Ignore the runtime of this one, folks. YouTubers.
Hi there, is Mr. YouTube available to see us?
Hey, you're the backflip microphone guy!
Where'd the microphone go? I think it's in that boy's ass.
They're also very good actors.
How do you like your new Nerdmobile, boys? Yeah?
It's like, I get it when it was stuff like, I remember Vsauce got paid money to, like, hey, make just a higher production version of what you're doing on Vsauce. Yep. It's like, that stuff makes perfect sense.
But it's when they thought, let's turn this into a movie. And, like, never forget, like, there was that glut of YouTuber movies in the 2010s, and they are all awful. And it's really funny as well, because a lot of the YouTubers who were making those movies were, like, YouTube critics who you know, their raison d'etre was shitting on bad movies. And then they went ahead and made really bad movies. It's like, not so easy, is it?
Party's over, kids.
Yeah.
It's almost like this is a skill that not many people have, including you. We mentions here that the series stars Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, who reprise their roles as Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence, respectively, from the 1984 film and its sequels. And Lucas, you said you're not too familiar with the Karate Kid franchise besides just, hey, like you've seen the first one because it was always on TV when you were a kid. But you are aware of the series enough to know that, like, just Ralph Macchio's character Daniel LaRusso is a prick, right? He basically causes every problem in that first movie.
Yeah, he definitely does. And, like, obviously people are going to be screaming already. There is, like, the bit of trivia of, like, well, the reason I was made aware of, like, go and rewatch the Karate Kid film, see how it really goes down, was because of How I Met Your Mother and the gag in that.
Well, which it does mention in this wiki, was partially responsible for the existence of this show.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether, like, it actually had anything to do with Cobra Kai.
It's William Zabka, isn't it? He has a recurring role on that show, and he talks about how, like, I'm the Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the film from the perspective, Johnny Lawrence is the Karate Kid. He's the one who trains real hard, has the abusive, like, you know, parental figures, who is like, you know, I think in any other 80s movie, he'd be the hero.
Yeah.
But then Daniel LaRusso turns up, antagonizes him, hits on his girlfriend, and obviously, yeah, William Zabka, he's a teenager, he beats him up. Because it's an 80s movie and bullies have to beat people up.
You couldn't leave well enough alone. Could you, little twerp? No, you had to push it. Well, now you're gonna pay.
But then you have that bit where Mr. Miyagi goes into the dojo and says, stop picking on Daniel. They'll fight at this tournament, they'll get their frustrations out there. And William Zabka's character's like, okay, sure, I'll do that. And Daniel LaRusso spends the rest of the movie intentionally antagonizing him.
I told him to get lost, mind your own business. Out of nowhere, the guy sucker punches. What an asshole.
And then obviously uses, like, the illegal move at the end to win.
Okay, yes, but he mentions here that the Cobra Kai re-examines the Karate Kid narrative from Johnny's point of view, beginning with the decision to reopen the Cobra Kai Karate Dojo and rekindling his old rivalry with Daniel. And that's the thing, I like that the show is just like, it's actually a really good drama, 'cause it's the idea of the guy who peaked in high school, and what would he be doing with his life now? And the answer is, still salty about the fact he was hot shit in high school and was never able to capitalise on that.
The one thing that, I haven't seen the TV show, but they both have their own dojos, right?
Yeah, so he makes Cobra Kai first, and then Daniel LaRusso's like, well, that's not what karate is. He doesn't understand what karate is. It's up to me, white guy, to explain to people what karate is, because I knew a Japanese guy for a little bit.
That's it. Balance good. Karate good. Everything good. Miyagi-Do is not about fighting.
For like one summer.
That's like the other thing about the Karate Kid franchise, where it's just like, just one random Japanese dude, just like, he understands karate because he's Japanese, and like, the 80s, like, well, he must know martial arts, right? I think, like, Pat Marisha, who played Mr. Miyagi, like, I guess I did a little bit of karate, but I didn't really know how to fight. People just assume that I could, though, because racism.
I come to learn karate from the greatest, most revered master the martial arts world has ever known.
Oh, well.
Hey, listen, man, I want to be just like Steven Seagal.
Oh, you want to be a bad actor?
But what makes it really funny is, he's like, clearly, like, Ralph Macchio is in great shape, but he's not in the shape of karate master, whereas like William Zabka is, because he stayed in pretty decent shape, because he could actually do all the shit he could in the original movie, whereas like, Ralph Macchio never actually properly learned how to fight.
You can't keep up this defense on me shit forever.
very rarely did actors learn how to do any stunts or fight work or anything back in the day.
And one of the funny things about rewatching the Karate Kids, when you watch the fight scenes, you can see that, like, the smaller bit part actors who actually know how to fight, because they were presumably just, oh, these are kids who know how to do actual martial arts, let's put them in the movie as like antagonists and side characters. But Ralph Macchio didn't know how to fight, and the funniest thing to me is his fighting stance. Because his fighting stance is he puts one foot in front of him and stands like this, like a fucking praying mantis. It's like, I've never seen that fighting style outside of a Mortal Kombat game.
Outside of Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah. It's like, there are numerous martial arts, but I've never seen a fighting style where the whole thing is putting one foot in front of you and bouncing up and down really quick like this. But just no one told Ralph Macchio because he was already famous. And he didn't want to fucking learn how to fight.
And obviously that alludes to, like, the crane kick and all that jazz, but yeah, it doesn't look like an effective fighting style at all.
No, he doesn't. And there's a few bits where like, he'll do like a decent enough combination, but it's still that thing of, yeah, like, Johnny Lawrence would have realistically kicked his fucking ass.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, I do know that people still have stuntmen and stuntwomen now, like, never take away from the work that stunt people do, but just, they have a little bit more involvement nowadays, generally.
And I feel as well, it's a little bit of an ego thing for a lot of actors, and I'm not sure exactly what movie I would point to as the beginning of it, but I think that first Daniel Craig James Bond movie with the parkour, like, Daniel Craig learned to do a lot of that, like, choreography himself. Obviously, you had a stuntman doing a big bunch of it, but like, I remember there being a lot of like column inches dedicated to the fact that all those cool stunts that you see James Bond doing, Daniel Craig did a lot of those himself, and I think a lot of actors must have seen the response to that and also wanted to get those column inches talking about how good they were. And obviously we have to mention Tom Cruise. He's been doing that shit for ages, but by that point it's not really, like, you know, newsworthy that Tom Cruise did his own stunts.
I mean, to be fair, you say that, but people still, like, make videos and stuff about how Tom Cruise got, you know, on the side of the plane and all this jazz. Like, it is still, like, newsworthy considering how over the top those stunts have gotten over the years, and he probably did help kick off a bit of a craze.
Probably, but I think, like, specifically I'd point to that first Daniel Craig Bond movie, just specifically because, like, they didn't expect Daniel Craig to do his own stunts, and he did. He was like, you know, he broke that expectation that, oh, well, Bond's doing cool parkour shit now. Oh, wait, so Bond's awesome now?
And he didn't do all of his stunts like any actor, just to clarify, but, you know.
And it's a shame as well, because, like, that means, I know those, like, Daniel Craig Bond movies, like, 'cause they're the gritty reboots.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a shame, because the Pierce Brosnan ones kind of get overlooked as, like, the campy ones, but Pierce Brosnan did learn how to fight, specifically for that fencing scene in that one Bond movie. Which is really fucking... It's one of, like, the best sword fights committed to film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just in a Bond movie. In, like, it's the midpoint to show how cool Bond is. And it's really, really well choreographed. And, like, Pierce Brosnan never gets credit for how much effort he put into that scene.
Yeah, I'd assumed, because obviously it's fencing, that just, like... have they got masks on? I can't remember, but I assumed it was just, like, a stunt person.
It's largely a stunt person, but Pierce Brosnan did learn to do a lot of it himself. And I think it's because when you think back to a lot of those earlier Bond movies, the action set pieces in your head that you tend to remember are the car chasers and stuff that's not as physically demanding. But I do contend that fight scene, like just the fencing scene, is really, really good. And I want to give a shout out to that, because someone probably will mention that. Like, oh, well, I think it's Die Another Day. That's the one where, like, you know, Pierce Brosnan did that. But I don't remember that getting as much column inches. Whereas I remember the Casino Royale, that parkour scene. There was so much, like, conversation about that parkour scene specifically.
Brosnan never gets credit for, like, surfing that giant tidal wave either.
He did it for real, yeah. He did it for real. Like, he purposely made himself, like, you know, look worse with CGI. It's great. Anyway, production. The thematic genesis for Cobra Kai began with a few works of pop culture. The first, a 2007 music video for the song Sweep the Leg by No More Kings, which stars William Zabka, who also directed the video, as a caricature of himself as Johnny and features numerous references to the Karate Kid, including cameo appearances from Zabka's Karate Kid co-stars.
I think the thing that gets me is that it was directed by William Zabka as well.
Because, like, that's the thing, it's basically been the cornerstone of his entire career. Like, he talks about how, like, you know, I was the asshole bully in that film, and that's how people saw me for the next 15 years of my life.
Yeah.
And credit to him, he owned it.
That's the thing, like, he owned it in a way where it didn't feel like, oh, this guy's just like the one-hit wonder touring 20 years later.
And I would not begrudge him if he became like a curmudgeonly arsehole about that, because I can't imagine what it's like for 20 years, people just assuming you are the arsehole they saw in a film when they were 5 years old. I can't imagine what that must be like. So, you know, fair play to him for having a sense of humour about it. He mentions here that a 2010 interview, Zabka jokingly discussed the video in the context of his vision that Johnny was the true hero of the film. Next, in June 2010, Macchio appeared in Funny or Die's online short, Wax On, Fuck Off, in which his loved one saved an intervention to turn the former child star from a well-adjusted family man into an addict besieged with tabloid scandals in order to help his career. It's that thing of like, you're too well-adjusted, mate. You need to hit someone with your car. All those stars from the 80s hit someone with their car. Have you thought about hitting someone with your car? I don't want to hit someone with that. You better hit someone with your... I don't know if that's the joke they make, but I imagine it's in that vein.
How's he going to have a career? He's not an alcoholic. He doesn't do prostitutes. If he were a degenerate, I could sell him.
Yeah, like you have to get yourself to look more scandalous, otherwise you won't be in headlines.
A recurring joke in the sketch is that Macchio is often confused for an adolescent. The short was lauded by TV guides Bruce Fretz, who referred to the video as side-splitting and comic gold. Finally, in 2013, Macchio and Zabka made guest appearances as themselves on the television sitcom How I Met Your Mother, particularly the episode The Bro Mitzvah. In the episode, Macchio was invited to Barney Stinson's bachelor party, leading Barney to shout that he hates Macchio and that Johnny was the real hero of Karate Kid. Which more than anything just shows that How I Met Your Mother was like, what, literally half a decade late to the joke.
I hate Ralph Macchio. I hate him. He is not the Karate Kid. The Karate Kid was William Zabka, star pupil of the Cobra Kai dojo.
It was, yeah, but I do like the way that they pull it off, because Zabka's like the clown that they don't realise is there the entire episode. And then at the end of the night where he's like, it's all been ruined, and then he's like, I wanted Zabka. He's the Karate Kid. He's like, I've been here the entire time.
Well, the fact that they were making that joke as early as 2007, and it appeared in 2013 in How I Met Your Mother, which just goes to show like how far behind like the jokes a lot of TV writers are, right?
Yeah, especially like the mainstream popular sitcoms is just like they're so far behind the ball.
Well, it's like when you watch, it's like a lot of Simpsons is very prescient. And a lot of early Simpsons is timeless. But I remember when me and you were talking about like that reboot of Futurama, of like, it takes 6 months plus to make one episode of Futurama, and they're making jokes about shit that was in the news 3 years ago. It feels so dated on release.
Yeah, it immediately, like, just, I think one of the first episodes of that season is like, hey, this is the Bitcoin episode. Isn't Bitcoin hilarious? It's like,
you know, the internet memed on that like 5 years ago. So he's thinking like, you know,
that's late.
Mining Bitcoin with kidnapped robot heads? It's pure evil.
Hardly. I donate all the proceeds to a local orphanage.
Oh.
But I can't let you tell anyone about my generous scheme.
Like, How I Met Your Mother put a joke in that William Zabka himself was already tired of making and made 7 years earlier. He mentions here that this all culminated in influencing the launch of Cobra Kai, with the idea behind it being to give a more balanced perspective for the Johnny-Daniel relationship along with other characters. Zabka also continued to be a recurring character throughout the 9th season of the show. Just the idea that, you know, they looked at that and went, okay, that's pretty funny. People clearly like these characters, a lot of nostalgia for this series. And that's actually interesting perspective. Should we explore that?
Yeah, and like fair play to them for actually leaning into it and not just doubling down on, oh yeah, we know that you guys think that like Zapka's the real Karate Kid, but actually no, Russo's the best.
Yeah, and in that vein, Lucas, is there like something you would like to see the Cobra Kai treatment given to? Like, you know, folks at home, let us know about this too. Of like, is there a show or a film or a property from, you know, further back in time that you're a fan of, you would love to see just re-examined through a modern lens?
Well, you've thrown me in this without like much preparation time, so have you got a thought?
Well, no, I like Cobra Kai. I like the idea of it's this property from the 80s. And I think the 80s and maybe early 90s, there's a lot of like those comedies that really aren't funny anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me a little bit of American Pie and American Pie Reunion, which is like the send-off to the franchise. And that was made like 15 years after the gross-out boner comedy had basically been invented by that first American Pie movie. And they hang a lampshade on all of the tropes. Like, Stifler wants to like start a fight with some teenagers. And they're like, Stifler, we're 40.
Stifler? Are you crazy? Jesus, Stifler. What happened to just stealing their beer?
I know, this is so much better, right?
What? Destroyed their jet skis.
They splashed us. So...
We can't do this anymore. We'll get arrested. Or like when he's at work acting like Stifler, and I was like, the fuck are you talking about, dude? This isn't high school. Or there's like one scene where they're trying to like engage in some classic teen sex comedy hijinks, where they like knock on a guy's door and say, excuse me, a car broke down, can we use your phone? The guy's like, do you guys not have cell phones? Like, and it's like, oh shit, yeah, because the movie that they first started like 15 years ago, and now that cell phones exist, so these plot points make no sense.
Well, we just got engaged.
Yeah.
What? That's so fucking gay.
Yeah, Stifler. We are gay.
Yeah, half the lacrosse team was gay. You must have known that, right?
Dude, you walked in on Doug and Barry in the shower.
I just thought they were wrestling.
They were.
I mean, speaking about, like, you know, mainstream sitcoms, I think maybe going back and just, like, say, for example, Seinfeld. You could just get Jerry Seinfeld back to be like, hey, dude, you're not funny anymore and you're being a bit of a prick.
Wasn't that just Seinfeld in real life anyway?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But, like, another one would be probably Friends.
Yeah, I would like the idea of, like, like, a group of, like, attractive people with unlimited free time and seemingly endless income, living in New York, having just silly adventures. It's like, I would love to see that examined through a more realistic lens of, like, people look back on that show and say, it's kind of ridiculous. They live in a made-up fantasy version of New York, right?
They really do, and obviously, like, you know, rest in peace Matthew Perry, like, fantastic, like, actor as Chandler, but, like, the characters themselves are often, like, very awful, and the one that everyone always points to is Ross, and it's like, maybe take a lens on, like, Ross and Monica specifically of, like, you two are really messed up.
Why?
I tried attacking two women, did not work.
What?
No, I mean, it's okay. I mean, they're my friends. In fact, I was married to one of them.
Let me get this straight, man. You attacked your ex-wife?
Oh, no. I tried.
It would be really interesting to see, like, oh, flash forward 20 years, what's happened in the Friends universe? It's like, well, Rachel and Ross separated very quickly because Ross was a psychopath.
Immediately,
yeah.
Because why would they not?
It's like, yeah, we've been spending the last 19 years trying to keep the restraining order against Ross in place.
And as someone who loves, like, you know, seeing tropes broken down and lampshaded, that'd be really interesting for me. And before we move on, Lucas, like, I would be remiss if I did not mention the show Kevin Can Fuck Himself, which is literally this exact idea, and it's done really well. And basically it is a classic 90s sitcom, complete with the schlubby husband who's just so wacky and bad at his job, and he's like, oh, woe is me, I fucked up, and now, like, you know, the kids are going to school with, like, you know, ketchup on their outfits. But And they film it in the traditional, like, multi-camera format.
No liquor, only beer. We have that appointment at the bank first thing tomorrow.
Hey, I'll take it easy like Sunday morning.
It's Monday morning.
What?
Huh?
But then, when you go to the wife's perspective, it just goes to a single camera format. And it's like a drama of like what it'd be like to be the wife of just this fucking man-child who never learns a lesson.
Hey, babe.
Yes.
Can you grab us freshies? No. Allison, avert your eyes. I can't have you leaving Kevin for me.
And he'll show you like a classic like sitcom trope or like, episode shenanigans. And it shows it from her perspective. Like he'll do like classic sitcom thing, like making a huge big mess. I'm like, oh, end of the episode, everyone laughs. And it shows her like cleaning it up.
I'm the gift that keeps on giving, baby.
Sorry I passed out in your rose bushes last night.
Oh, Miss Hercules over here.
And she's like, why does nobody but me see that my husband's an arsehole? Yeah. And it's like that thing of like, what would it be like to actually live with this character? The answer is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, of course, because it's all over-exaggerated, right? It's like, these are not realistic people, and just it'd be a nightmare to be around any of them because they're just amped up for the camera.
Yeah, and that's what it explores, of what it would actually be like to live with these characters. And just like, it's just the stark contrast between like the super studio lighting with like the multi-camera format, and just cuts to his wife just sat on the sofa just like, okay. So I would recommend that show for anyone out there who wants to see this idea explored. And we'll move on now, Lucas, to casting. So according to Josh Heald, John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg, only characters from the original 4 films, The Karate Kid Part 2, Karate Kid Part 3, and The Next Karate Kid, comprise what they call the Miyagi-verse.
Oh, so this is just their way of being like, hey, the one with like Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, that never happened.
And they say that these are characters who have directly interacted with Mr. Miyagi. As a result, they do not consider the Karate Kid, which is stupid. It should be called the Kung Fu Kid, because he learns Kung Fu, which they even joke about in the film, like, it's not karate, it's Kung Fu. So why is it called the Karate Kid, dipshit?
Because that's IP, Karl.
And also the animated series. They're not considered to be canon to their universe.
Okay.
It mentions here that in Season 1, Ralph Macchio and William Zabka reprised their respective Karate Kid roles of Daniel Russo and Johnny Lawrence. Additional Karate Kid actors include Randy Heller, who reprised her role as Lucille LaRusso, Daniel's mother, and Martin Cove in his role as John Kreese. The cast list for Season 1 included Zolo Mariduena, Mary Mauser, Tanner Buchanan, and Corny Henegler. Ed Asner was cast in a guest role as Johnny's verbally abusive stepfather, Sid Weinberg. And I do apologise if I pronounced any of those names incorrectly. And one of the things I like is they got a lot of like the younger actors to be like, the next generation, the Karate Kids. They actually got people who are decent at martial arts.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And you can see them. If they weren't on this show, they'd have been in the short run-in to be like, the next set of Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm. And I have heard, like, decent things about a fair few of them. Like, I've heard that it's been fairly well cast over the years.
Pretty well cast, yeah. And, like, they're good actors. Like, they're obviously very capable of performing a lot of the action and stunts for themselves.
Who's next?
The reason I say it basically turns into an anime is that, okay, when you've got a film set in the 80s, it's believable that you would have random roving gangs of karate students beating people up. In the days of mobile phones and the internet and, like, the really hardline stance of no fucking bullying in schools because a kid might turn up with a fucking gun, it becomes more and more unbelievable that these kids keep getting into random giant karate fights. You good?
Yeah, you?
including one episode where there is a 15-minute long fight scene in school.
Stop! Oh, you want some of this? Whoa!
Where they're like, it goes all the way through the school and culminates with, like, the weird older guy who just ingratiates himself with the teenage karate students, who becomes a security guard at the school, going, don't worry, I'll handle this. And you think, oh, thank God, authority figures, going to blow his whistle and stop the fighting. He just starts beating up children.
Get me security in the main corridor right away!
It's okay, sir. I got this.
Like, it's like there's one kid where he puts his head into a locker. But what's really funny is, in the next season, he gets fired because they have, like, one of the things I love about the show, it's similar to that Kevin can fuck himself idea, where you'll have these, like, outlandish, exaggerated, like, 80s tropes realised with, like, better choreography and slightly more budget. Then they'll smash cut to, like, how it would actually go down. Like, they have the next season, like, the PTA meeting where the kid's like, okay, what happened to that guy who beat up my son? Is he still working? No, he's fired, he's gone. We got rid of him straight away.
We feel your frustration, but the NEA guidelines are quite clear that no teacher can get between two students fighting.
What about that next beer teacher who attacked all the kids?
Mr. Stingray never worked here. Last we heard, he's on probation and not allowed within 500 feet of any child.
Yeah, who's the guy who's putting people through lockers? Yeah, he's been fired.
And they just say, yeah, he got fired straight away, don't worry about it.
Break it up!
Screw this. They don't pay me enough.
Or like Daniel LaRusso's wife, where he's talking about how, yeah, I'm going to go drive down to meet Johnny so we can have a karate fight on the beach. And his wife's like, do you not have work? Yeah. Do you not have to, like, what about the business?
You know you're an adult, right? Like, you can't just be doing this shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I love that, like, juxtaposition of they'll have, like, the really dramatic, like, I need to go for this karate fight. And it smash cuts to his wife, who's like, why?
Amanda, that is not what happened.
Regardless, now I've lost any shot of joining that charity, much less the board.
That's all Silver's fault. He was messing with me the whole time.
And you let him. You knew how important this was to me, and yet you could not, for one day, put the stupid rivalry aside. I'm afraid we're never going to have normalcy ever again.
You're 40. Why does it matter? And they even have a scene where they, like, the wives, or like the girlfriend of Johnny and the wife of Daniel meet up and they talk about how stupid it is they're still obsessed with this karate fight. And, like, Johnny's like, yeah, it was pretty stupid. I did win, though. It's like, you didn't win. It's like, I definitely won. Let's have a karate fight right now. It's like, God damn it.
So, have the man boys filled you in on the whole mortal enemy karate dojo battling for the soul of the valley thing?
Wait. You both have karate dojos?
It's like, guys, it's been like 30 odd years. You need to get over this.
Just get over it. It reminds me, it's my favourite joke in Shaun of the Dead. Where, like, Peter Serafinowicz, like, it was like, speaking of, like, looking at a character and seeing them in a new light, like, when you first watch Shaun of the Dead, like, oh, Peter Serafinowicz, he's such a prick.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you get older and you think, like, you know, when you're in your 30s, you think, what would it actually be like to have a roommate who just listens to techno at 2 a.m. with his, like, dickhead mate who's moved in 6 months ago and doesn't pay rent when you've got work in the morning? And your reaction probably would be exactly what Peter Serafinowicz is. It's like, the door is still open!
No. I've got a splitting headache, and your stupid hip-hop isn't helping. And the front door is open again!
Yeah, like, they've got into the habit of just leaving the door wide open in just a street in the middle of London. Like, yeah.
And I love that bit where, like, Sean tries to play on his nostalgia. It's like, you know, we had some good times, right? It's like, yeah, I remember when we stayed up drinking apple schnapps playing Tekken 2, and Sean's like, yeah, that's pretty good. Like, that was 10 years ago.
When's he gonna move out?
When's he going home? It's great, right? It's so good.
No, come on, stop it, we're friends! He's not my friend, he's a fucking idiot!
What's that supposed to mean?
It means, why don't you fuck off? You wanna live like an animal? Go live in a shed, you thick fuck! Oh, leave him alone! Stop defending him, Sean!
And they have this great episode where, like, Johnny meets up with all his old friends, and just from body type alone, you can tell which of those actors continued acting and which one's just retired. Because William Zabka is in great shape for a man of his age. a bunch of his friends turn up and they just look like dads, because they are. Because they're not actors anymore, they're dads. But they still made them do a karate fight scene.
Oh god.
Because they're supposed to be like the original Cobra Kai.
This is the fight zone! Don't pull your finger away!
Yeah, and it says that, you know, there's another season set to be released soon, which is why we're creating this episode, because hopefully we can just like capitalise a little bit on the interest in the series, because goddamn do I love me some Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I mean, like, I do want to get around to watching it, because the moment you described it as just, oh, it's gotten live action anime, now I was like, okay, this sounds more up my street.
Yeah, it's so good. And if you are a fan of Cobra Kai and you would like to continue discussing the series with other fans, including myself, you can follow a link to our Discord found below. You can like, you can comment with feedback or suggestions. You can also make suggestions for stuff we can cover on future episodes, either in the comment section below or on our Discord. You can also influence, that's right, influence the kind of content that we make by subscribing to our Patreon, where once a month myself and Lucas will put up a selection of topics we've had suggested to us over the years and just allow our audience to choose which one gets made into an episode. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can click the links below. Otherwise, thank you for watching and see you all next time. Remember, strike hard, strike first, no mercy.
Cobra Kai.
That's the thing as well. I love when he makes his own logo. And he calls it Eagle Fang Karate, and it's like eagles don't have fangs. Like, shut up, it's badass though. And it's like, okay, it's pretty badass. So that's one of the things, because I've not even talked about how Johnny Lawrence's character is just an old metalhead, and he drives around in a fucking beat up old muscle car, just listening to heavy metal all the time. And there is a fantastic fucking episode, which is my favourite one, and it really shows off his acting chops, where it's him trying to make money using modern stuff. He becomes an Uber driver.
Oh,
so he becomes an Uber driver. Can you play some Billie Eilish? He's like, oh, Billy Idol, yeah, I'll put that on for you. And no, that's not what we want.
Can you turn down the music? I'm in the middle of a deal here. Hey, shut the hell up. This is the best part.
Or he becomes a Deliveroo driver, and he's delivering food, and he's just eating the food. I'm not going to give you a tip, I'm going to give you a bad review. It's the fuck do I care about a bad review? Who cares what you do on your phone? Give me my money.
1 star? Does the car smell like beer? It's because there is beer, asshole.
He doesn't understand what technology is, and when they get him a phone, they get him a smartphone. It's what makes it so fucking smart? It's a rectangle, I can smash this thing, no problem. And it's just so good. Watch the show.